Hey guys, I was meant to post something else today, but the glue didn't dry in time for me to be able to finish it, so instead we're doing a miniature pug. Hope you'll enjoy. Begin by making a sketch in the right size. For 1 to 12 scale miniature, the shoulder height of a pug should be 20 to 30 millimeters depending on whether it's a full-grown male or female. You then want to make an armature the same way as in my corpse bride tutorial. Cover the head with tinfoil and clay and start sculpting the head. Tutorial for the eyeball cane can be found on my channel. If you haven't made any dogs in miniature before, this is definitely one of the breeds I would recommend starting out with, just because the head is very round and flat and doesn't really have that much shape to it. Also, I'm sorry if I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but if you haven't seen any of my animal tutorials, please check out my Saint Bernard tutorial because that one has a lot of the basic information. Once you're happy with the head, pre-bake and add clay to the upper body. In my previous animal tutorial, which was the one with the foxes, you can really get around with having a very rough sculpture, whereas with this one, which is an animal with very short fur, you want the sculpture itself to have more details as it's going to be visible after the fur is added. I then pre-baked, cut off the rest of the armature just like in my Fox tutorial because it's a seated position, added clay to the bottom as well as some thighs, and pre-baked again. Then make and add the rest of the hind legs and the paws. Finish off by adding a tail and, in lack of better words, more rolls of fat or skin, then bake one last time. To strengthen the ears and tail, I do recommend adding some liquid clay. For the fur, I'm using white merino fibers, and because of the color of the clay, I'm not going to be using any acrylic paint on the sculpture. On the smooth part of the back as well as the chest, I added the fibers like this, and then for the rest of the sculpture I just added flocking powder. The flocking powder is made by taking the normal fibers and just cutting them into tiny pieces. Lastly, you want to add the shading, which is really what's going to make the dog stand out and come to life. So for this I used soft pastels in light and dark brown as well as black. I applied some of it with a dry brush and some of it with a wet brush. Applying it with a wet brush is great for details, and if needed you can still blend it out once dry. I also used acrylic paint for the nose or snout and around the eyes. Finally, I sprayed the sculpture with a fixative, which is both going to protect the pastel and make the colors of the pastel pop. And because the fixative I'm using has a gloss finish, it's also going to make the eye shiny. The fixative I used is the same one I showed in my art supply video.